Greetings, Junction Community Church. It is a pleasure for me to be able to partake in this special occasion of your 90th church anniversary. I would like to first of all express our congratulations to Pastor Paul, congregation, and each member who has taken part of this special occasion to make this possible. Thank you for allowing me to come to you through this video and share memories of our pastorate there in Grand Junction. I would like, first of all, to say thanks to God for giving me that privilege. I believe that it was, and it is, one of the most highlights of my ministry. It was there where God showed me many things that I was never ever thought that I could do or be able to accomplish. But I always believe that when God is in it and God has called you to a place and people are there to work and they respond and everybody works, it is glorious and it's an awesome thing that can be done. Just as I believe that you're experiencing in these last years. I remember in the fall of 1989, I received a call to go and give a few services for Pastor Ruben Salas. And as I was there, I was supposed to be in Fruta that Sunday morning. And as I was getting ready for church, I received a call. I received a call from an angel. I believe it was an angel. And I still hear those words. That sound in my ears, in my heart, in my soul. It was a voice that was so light, but yet so powerful. And as I received the call, she just says, "I'm Sister Montoya." And as you all know, Sister Montoya was an angel. She was my angel. And she says, "We heard you were in town. My husband is intern pastor here at the church. He's an elderly man, and we really would like for you to come and help us." I remember telling her, "Sister, I'm sorry, I'm scheduled to be in Emmanuel this morning to minister." And she goes, "No, you don't understand me. We need your help. We would like for you to come and help us this morning." And I kept telling her how it was so impossible for me to be there. But Sister Montoya had her convictions. She loved God. She loved the work of God. She loved the ministry. And she would not give up. Matter of fact, as I spoke to her and listened to her, I thought, boy, this lady must be at least 6'5" tall. She stands her ground. I can already sense that she's not going to take a no for an answer. So I called Joe Chavez, who was the pastor at Emmanuel at that time, and told him what was taking place. He goes, "Why don't you go ahead and go?" So I remember that Adrian and Rebecca was with me because my wife stayed home for a conference, for a women's conference in Greeley. And we went to church. I remember getting to the church building, and as I seen the building, I thought, well, I must be in the wrong place. Because, we're so used to having our Spanish Assembly of God church as being a rectangle building. And it just impressed me. We went into the church, we ministered, and after church, some individuals took us out to lunch, invited us to see if we were interested in pastoring the church. At that time, I was pastoring Gil's church in Gil, Colorado. And I really told them I wasn't interested. I was happy where I was at. I was not looking for a church. I had just gone to help Brother Salas. However, we left. And on the way home, the kids and I talked about it. We didn't say much. We got home, shared with my wife. she really didn't say much. Later on, we talked about it and we put a fleece before the Lord. And as we waited on the Lord, I called Brother Trevino. I asked him, Brother, how soon will Zion Assembly or Zion Spanish will have elections? He goes, well, it won't be too soon. I'm not seeing to go into hold elections there for a while. I told him, well, I was there and, I was kind of interested. So if possible, when the time comes. However, we left it at that. A few months went by. I was invited to go and interview for the pastorate there at Grand Junction. And when I spoke to Brother Salomon, he mentioned what the church had to offer. And as I weighed the situation, I was really making more in Gill. I had a side job. But yet there was something in my heart that would not release me. The next thing I thought of doing was to contact my board there in Gill. And before I even went to interview, I resigned the church. I just felt that if I was going to Grand Junction to interview, I could not just leave, and if nothing would happen, go back and just pretend like nothing was happening. So I resigned to the board before our interview. I went to Junction, we interviewed. It was a good interview, ministered that Sunday. After the service, I had a lot of encouragement from the people. They felt good. We left. We came home. I received the call that I was elected. And so that was how we got to Grand Junction. We knew that the Lord had called me to Grand Junction. There was a conviction that no one, even today, would ever be able to change it. And as we started ministering there, we fell in love with the congregation. We sensed the love from the congregation. And we were able to work. We have awesome memories. I remember that we started by remodeling the sanctuary. People got in, started working. Remember bringing Pastor Mark as our associate and Master's Commission director. Started Masters. Masters was an awesome thing. It was, I believe, it was what God wanted to use to take us to another level. It was there where God began to show me that in the ministry we must take risks of faith. And as I said earlier, Zion is one of the highlights in our ministry because of what I was able to learn, what God can do with someone who is willing to give of himself, and also of a congregation who's willing to work, never thinking that it's impossible, but always thinking of the possibilities. We took on challenges that I believe I would have never, ever done, but if it would have not been for God and the people there at Junction. My kids grew up there. They both graduated from there. They both were married there, and now they have beautiful families. And we owe it all to God, and we owe it all to the congregation of Zion Spanish Assembly. Later on, Zion Assembly. We had awesome revivals, awesome services. God did a work. We were able to touch our community, and God just did great, marvelous things. It is so awesome for me this day to be able to share my love with you. Zion will always have a special place in our hearts, in our families' hearts. And I would like to tell you that as you celebrate the 90th church anniversary, this is a fulfillment of what Jesus said. Jesus said, I will build my church. Upon this rock, I will build my church. And the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Junction Community Church, the gates of hell cannot, listen to me, cannot prevail against you. You are victorious. God has given you a pastor who has a vision, a pastor who is willing to go forth and do what needs to be done to grow the kingdom of God. I remember as I thought of bringing on Master's Commission, the very first person that came into my mind was Pastor Paul. I remember calling Pastor Paul. And by that time, he had already committed to Healing Waters under the pastorate of Brother Elias Gonzalez. So when he said no, I was kind of a little disappointed. However, I believe God wanted us to do Masters, and went on. Lord blessed us with Pastor Mark. Later on, Pastor Travis. Later on, Adrian. God helped us. But I want to say this. Because see, God always has everything in order. And if we learn to trust God, if we learn to follow God, God will always bring us out. Because I remember the year of 2007, I was contacted and asked of the possibility of running my name for Secretary Treasurer of the district. Brother Dave Garza was resigning. But see, before that, I had even determined that I was going to retire from Zion Spanish Assembly. I had told the Lord, Lord, I'm not going nowhere. If you want me to go somewhere else, you're going to have to be the one that opens the door, because I'm surely not going to go out looking for anything else. I was happy. I was content. But as we all know, God has a plan, a purpose for each and every one of us. When elections took place and I was elected, I remember during that time, Pastor Paul and I talked. He mentioned the possibility of maybe him running his name. I told him, go for it. Go for it. I believe you're the man. And church, as you can see, God is always in control. When we are obedient to God, we will always see the blessing of God on our lives. We will never be left alone, but we will continue to see blessing after blessing. And so today, I pray and I rejoice with you on this milestone. Pastor Paul, God has many years for you. I remember that I used to count my years every year. Never, ever thought I would be there 17 years. But God made it possible. You will probably overdo that. With God's help, God's grace, and your beautiful congregation, may God bless you on this special day. God bless you.